There's a special kind of actor in Hollywood who manages to irritate everyone they work with while somehow maintaining a successful career. Someone who transforms method acting into workplace harassment, turns artistic expression into predatory behavior, and uses a devoted fan base to shield themselves from decades of troubling allegations. Most people know Jared Leto as that guy who takes his roles way too seriously, sending rats to his co-stars and claiming it's all for art. Others know him as the ageless frontman of 30 Seconds to Mars, performing in flowing white robes for crowds of devoted female fans. But a growing number of industry professionals, journalists, and now alleged victims know Leto as something much darker, Hollywood's most irritating and possibly oddest star. The transformation from promising young actor to industry pariah didn't happen overnight, but Leto's descent into insufferable behavior has been building for decades. What started as quirky method acting has evolved into something far more sinister.
Don't do it. Put him in the bottle. Please, no, put him in the bottle. Please, no.
And the recent emergence of serious allegations from 9 women has finally pulled back the curtain on behavior that Hollywood has been willfully ignoring for years. The question isn't whether Jared Leto is annoying anymore. It's how he's managed to maintain his career despite being universally recognized as one of the most difficult, self-indulgent, and potentially predatory figures in entertainment. Back in 1994, when Leto landed his breakout role as the brooding Jordan Catalano in My So-Called Life, he seemed destined for greatness. With his sharp cheekbones and intense stare, he quickly established himself as Hollywood's newest heartthrob, following up with memorable roles in cult classics like Fight Club and American Psycho. But even then, there were signs that Leto's relationship with fame was going to be complicated. He approached his roles with an intensity that bordered on obsession, and he seemed to crave not just success, but worship from his audiences. It was during his Oscar-winning performance in Dallas Buyers Club that Leto's method acting really started to become a problem for everyone around him. He lost 30 pounds for the role and refused to break character as a transgender woman even when the cameras stopped rolling, insisting that crew members treat him as female throughout the entire production. While some actors might quietly commit to their roles, Leto made sure everyone knew about his dedication, turning his supposed artistry into a form of performance that extended far beyond the actual filming. But it was on the set of Suicide Squad where Leto's behavior crossed from annoying into genuinely disturbing territory. Playing the Joker gave him what he seemed to consider a license to terrorize his co-stars, and he took full advantage of the opportunity.
I am not someone who is loved. I'm an idea.
Margot Robbie opened a box to find a live rat inside, a gift from Leto that made her scream in horror.
Margot opened the box, and there was a live rat in the box. And so I wasn't dead shot. I wasn't dead shot at all in that moment. Sure. Yeah, it was pretty, oh!
Will Smith received bullets in the mail. The entire cast was subjected to Leto's twisted interpretation of method acting, which included sending used condoms to his fellow actors, all supposedly in service of understanding his character's psychology.
Oh, how about the gifts you gave everyone? Yeah. Rats, bullets, a hog. Where did that come from?
Don't forget the anal beads.
Where did you send anal beads to?
The used condoms.
When you watch the cast members talk about these incidents in interviews, their discomfort is palpable despite their attempts to remain professional. They grimace when discussing Leto's behavior, and you can tell they're choosing their words carefully to avoid creating drama. The most infuriating part of the entire controversy is that after all this supposed dedication to his craft, after terrorizing his co-workers in the name of artistic integrity, Leto delivered one of the most forgettable and cringeworthy interpretations of the Joker ever captured on film. When the inevitable backlash came, Leto's response revealed just how disconnected from reality he had become. First, he tried to deny some of the more outrageous gifts, claiming he never actually sent used condoms to anyone. Then, he attempted to reframe the whole situation as harmless pranks between friends. When that didn't work, he got defensive and told critics they could kiss his ass if they didn't like the way he worked, revealing the arrogance that has become his defining characteristic. This pattern of extreme physical transformation, followed by endless self-promotion, has become Leto's signature move throughout his career. For Chapter 27, he gained 67 pounds and developed gout so severe that he needed a wheelchair to move around the set. Rather than quietly enduring this for his art, Leto made sure everyone knew about his suffering, discussing his physical ailments in interview after interview, as if his willingness to damage his body somehow made him a more serious actor than his peers. The problem with Leto's approach to method acting is that it seems designed more to generate headlines than to create authentic performances. Real method actors like Daniel Day-Lewis are famously private about their process, letting their work speak for itself. Leto, by contrast, can't stop talking about his transformations, turning acting into a form of competitive suffering, where he expects applause for putting himself and everyone around him through unnecessary hell. While his film career was generating eye rolls and exasperation, Leto was building something even more troubling through his band 30 Seconds to Mars. What started as a typical actor's vanity project evolved into something that looked suspiciously like a cult, complete with devoted followers who called themselves the Echelon, and merchandise that literally said, "Yes, this is a cult." Leto laughed off questions about the cult comparisons, but the evidence suggests he wasn't entirely joking about the nature of his relationship with his fans. The Echelon weren't just typical music fans attending concerts and buying albums. They followed the band around the world, got tattoos of the band's symbols, and defended Leto with the kind of fierce loyalty typically reserved for religious leaders. Leto encouraged this devotion, regularly posting on social media that outsiders wouldn't understand the special connection he shared with his followers, creating an us versus them mentality that reinforced the idea that his fans were part of something exclusive and special. Leto's concerts began to feel less like rock shows and more like worship services, with him performing from elevated platforms while dressed in flowing white robes. He would dance around the stage like some sort of spiritual figure, encouraging his fans to see him as more than just a musician. This dynamic reached its disturbing peak with the creation of Mars Island, a retreat where fans could pay thousands of dollars to spend time with Leto on a private Croatian island. The basic package started at $1,700, but VIP experiences could cost over $7,000, with the promise of private time with Leto himself. Photos from these retreats show mostly young women dressed in all white, following Leto around the island as he gave speeches and led what looked like ceremonial gatherings. The whole setup bore uncomfortable similarities to other controversial organizations where devotion and money are closely linked, with attendees participating in group meditations and intimate concerts that Leto dubbed the Church of Mars. But perhaps the most uncomfortable aspect of Leto's public persona has been his behavior with female journalists during interviews. There's a consistent pattern of him using his celebrity status to make professional interactions inappropriate and uncomfortable, turning interviews into unwanted intimate encounters that women can't easily escape without jeopardizing their careers. He brings interviewers uncomfortably close, making comments about their appearance and creating situations where they're forced to play along with his advances. In one particularly cringe-worthy interview, he grabbed a woman's microphone and asked if he could squeeze it, then refused to let go of her hand while commenting on her hair and skin. The journalist tried to maintain her professionalism, but you could see her discomfort as Leto pushed the interaction well beyond appropriate boundaries. These aren't isolated incidents, but part of a deliberate pattern where Leto uses the power dynamic of celebrity interviews to make women uncomfortable for his own entertainment. The pattern becomes even more disturbing when you consider the allegations that have followed Leto throughout his career. As far back as 2005, the New York Post reported that the actor, 33-year-old back then, was aggressively pursuing teenage models, booking hotel suites near where young models were staying and bombarding them with text messages. According to their sources, he's been approaching all the girls and inviting them to his shows. He's a serial texter. He's constantly texting 16 and 17-year-old girls. Over the years, more allegations surfaced on message boards and social media, with women describing encounters with Leto that ranged from inappropriate to potentially criminal. The accusations gained more credibility when industry insiders began speaking out. Director James Gunn publicly criticized Leto's behavior with underage girls during a late-night Periscope session, and former Disney star Dylan Sprouse called Leto out on Twitter, asking about his success rate with female models aged 18 to 25. Recently, these long-simmering allegations have finally reached a breaking point, with 9 women coming forward with detailed accusations of sexual misconduct against Leto. The allegations describe a pattern of inappropriate behavior spanning over a decade, including claims that he assaulted a 17-year-old, walked nude in front of a different 17-year-old, and engaged in sexually explicit conversations with a 16-year-old. One of the accusers, Laura LaRue, described meeting Leto at an animal rights benefit when she was 16 and connecting with him over email before he invited her to his studio. While Leto has remained personally silent about the decades of allegations that have followed him throughout his career, his representatives have issued blanket denials to the recent accusations, with a spokesperson telling that all of the allegations are expressly denied. This approach of letting others speak for him while he continues his career as if nothing has happened is particularly telling, because Leto has never been shy about defending himself when criticized for his acting methods or artistic choices. What makes Leto's story particularly frustrating is how Hollywood has enabled his behavior throughout his career, despite being universally recognized as difficult to work with. Despite the allegations that have followed him for years, and despite his reputation for making everyone around him miserable, he continues to land major roles in high-profile films. His recent performance in Morbius perfectly encapsulated everything wrong with his current approach, staying in character between takes and disrupting filming schedules, while delivering another forgettable performance in what became a critical and commercial disaster. At 53, Leto maintains an unnaturally youthful appearance that he seems to believe gives him license to pursue women half his age and behave however he wants. He's built an entire persona around being ageless and mysterious, using his preserved looks as a shield against criticism and a way to justify his inappropriate behavior with younger women. When people point out his troubling conduct, his devoted fans dismiss it as jealousy or misunderstanding, convinced that their idol is too special and artistic for normal social rules to apply. The entertainment industry has a Jared Leto problem, but it's really a larger problem about power, accountability, and the willingness to overlook troubling behavior as long as someone can generate headlines and sell tickets. Leto represents everything wrong with celebrity culture. He's a mediocre talent who's convinced himself he's a genius, a grown man who allegedly preys on young women while hiding behind artistic pretensions, and a workplace nightmare who's never faced real consequences for making everyone around him miserable. His transformation from promising young actor to Hollywood's most irritating star is a masterclass in how privilege, delusion, and industry enablement can create a monster. And until there are real consequences for using fame as a weapon, we'll keep getting stars who think their celebrity status puts them above basic human decency.